We know your style.
Okay, it is, oh, the microphone's not on yet. There you go.
He didn't have them turned on. That's because he doesn't want to hear himself talk. Oh, geez.
Don't need
Oh, dear, no.
It's on.
Oh, that was his pager.
You're beeping.
Someone's pacemaker going off.
So it's 5:30, so we'll call this meeting to order. Just a friendly reminder to, when you speak, to get your microphone on. We don't usually use them, but it's recording just to help Pat with some minutes and stuff. So before we go, I just want to take a minute to recognize and remember the 3 members that were taken from us last week in Moncton, and from us to the RCMP and the policing community in general. That our hearts are with you, and Colwood, the Protective Services Committee and Council and the residents have always supported and been very thankful for the service that's provided to us in the region. And I know we're all thinking about the families, but also about the members, no matter what force you belong to, and the job that you guys do. So from us, we thank you. With that, can I have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have one set of minutes for adoption, May 14th.
Move adoption.
We have a mover. Any changes? No. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is Rock the Shores, and I think it'll be a brief update. I don't know if James or Larry want to give just a very brief overview.
Just as an update for the Rock the Shores, then, we're still working with the promoters, and we're developing our operations plan from a policing and security point of view. We had some meetings today, and we'll be presenting them with a definitive number of RCMP members that will have in attendance. And we're progressing well. We're looking at 20 members that will have in attendance for the event on each day of the 3 days.
Any questions? No. The promoter has supplied much of the information that we've desired, like the traffic management plan and that sort of thing. And so staff are just working through the logistics of that. But it seems like a lot of the things are underway, and the promoter's been responsive for the most part. So things are looking good.
Does it address the conversations that have been had, some of council's concerns?
In terms of?
Policing and the costs and those sorts of things, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're well aware, and James is having a meeting with the promoter tomorrow as well to outline some of the conversations that we've had regarding policing costs and municipal enforcement.
Because I think it's important when this comes back to council that you're able to say that.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Dean?
Mr. Chair, I mean, is it fair to say that any and all staff who are involved in this, RCMP included, are satisfied with where we're at now and the support we're receiving from whether it be city staff or the promoter or anybody involved in this situation? Is there anything left undiscussed at this point in time?
I'll leave it to James and Larry.
Through the chair, there's some discussions on scheduling of BYLAW. In our discussions this afternoon with Inspector Chomyn, it was indicated to us that RCMP can manage traffic control on our behalf. We are going to be developing a schedule that, again, we're not going to be working directly for Rock the Shore. We're going to be protecting the interests of our community through the Rock the Shore. There'll be briefing sessions each of the mornings in which we'll have, I'm sorry, this is the first that Kevin is hearing of this. We're hoping to talk to him a bit about this tomorrow, but there'll be briefing for each of the days. We'll be providing schedules to Inspector Chomyn and his team so that we can coordinate our efforts. We won't be directly working for Rock the Shores, but we will be protecting the interests, and we'll be going on site when required to check business licenses and at the request of the RCMP as well. Going forward, the promoter has indicated to many of the stakeholders the threat of walking away and going to a different venue. This venue is very significant, very important to our community economically and socially. I think it'd be very important to have discussions with the administration from West Shore Park and Rec to look at a long-term solution where we can guarantee through maybe a reduction of rates to guarantee maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 year contract with this promoter to ensure that this is going to be a viable event in our community and sustainable event. With the opening of the new hotel on Whale Road, I think this could be a really good opportunity for this event and for the hotel as well, and further exposure for Colwood.
Thank you. Dean?
Mr. Mayor, having said that, that's great to hear. I accept all of that. As a resident here, we shan't throw the baby out with the bathwater, in the sense that a promoter can say whatever they want, and quite frankly, unless there is a signed contract, they can migrate wherever they wish as well. So I think that we need to stay the course. That this. The converse would be quite true as well, and that is if the thing turns out to be a disaster and traffic is horrendous and nobody can get home to Souk, we will hear about that afterwards as well. So I think that the way we've proceeded and the questions that we've asked are valid, and I'm glad that things have worked out. But promoters come and go, and they like to jump up and down and hold their breath. The reality of it is, if they went to another municipality of which I have some familiarity, they would be asked all of the same questions, and all of the same restrictions would be placed upon them. So I think that, I guess it becomes then a philosophical decision for you councillors as to how much we're going to support this, and how much we're going to give, and how much we're going to take as far as where we move with this in the future.
Fair enough. Okay, we will move on to new business. Report from Kevin Atkinson on bylaw enforcement for May. Kevin.
Through the chair, thank you. I'll just touch on the numbers briefly. We had 216 actions, 133 complaints, call for services. We had 64 follow-ups, 32 patrols, 12 graffiti patrols, and 20 written warnings for a total of 261 actions. All the damage that was recorded in May, with the exception of Colan, has been remediated. The graffiti outreach program garnered some interest from the City of St. John's, Newfoundland. Colwood bylaw enforcement officer has been communicating with the representative from that city on how to implement a harm reduction strategy. So our program is being seen by other people, so it's quite rewarding when we get those phone calls from other agencies saying, how are you doing this? In the community, bylaw enforcement officers accompanied by youth. One of our community workers did some broom pull for Elsie. Bylaw officers participated in 2014 Emergency Preparedness Fair. The bylaw officers participated in the Police Week Open House. We participated in a joint traffic enforcement on Souk Road with the RCMP Community Policing Unit to help curb unsafe driving practices contrary to the Traffic and Highways bylaw. And bylaw officers provided traffic control for a motorist who had lost a wheel off his boat trailer. And members of the Public Works responded to an RCMP BYLAW to help the police search for a property crime suspect. Information of an Amber Alert was circulated through Public Works after we were notified by our mayor that there was an Amber Alert. So City Watch is working as well. This report is for information only, and if there's any questions, I can answer those questions.
Committee? I have a motion to receive. Moved by Dean. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item, report on CRD Animal Control Monthly Statistics for May. Kevin.
So there was 3 cats we had 3 complaints of cats and dogs at large. There were 6 complaints of dogs biting and dogs barking and licensing issues for 28 issues in the city of Colwood. 30 warning notices were issued with 1 MTI. There was 1 impounding of a cat, and there's also 1 adoption. So this is a summary of what's transpired for the month of May. We were not able to hook up with CRD Animal Control in the month of May to do any joint patrols, but we have met with them over a coffee, and we're going to try and step up our enforcement for the month of June and July. With the nicer weather, the pet walkers are out, and so we'll try and hit the parks a little bit more regularly to make sure we're highly visible to the public.
Thanks, Kevin. The last meeting, we had a discussion about the patrol hours and how they spiked.
Yes.
And there was a desire to have Don Brown come to a future meeting. Do you know if that's been?
I believe he was asked, but I don't know what happened with that. I will make sure that I ask him tonight. I'll send him an email as soon as I'm finished this meeting, asking that he comes to the next meeting.
Katie?
I just want to commend the CRD Animal Control Office. I, as a resident, did call in. There was a dog that was left out on the deck that was barking, that was losing its voice, per se. And they attended the house. They had a couple of dogs. They weren't licensed, so they were licensed on the spot. And measures were taken that the dog wouldn't be left out there again. And then about a week later, the officer cycled back to see if there were any further issues. And I thought it was just really great customer service, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Great feedback. I have a motion to receive the report. Moved by Dean. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item, Animal Control Bylaw Review. Kevin, you're on the hot seat tonight.
Through the chair. Through the planning department earlier, or late last year, there was a major amendment made to the land use bylaw to allow the keeping of backyard hens and et cetera, which then spurred on a full bylaw review of our animal control bylaw, which was quite old and had quite a few amendments. So in order to clean up the bylaw, clean up the language, a full bylaw review was done. The new bylaw adds some new definitions and addresses backyard hens, and like I said, a new language within the bylaw. Improvements have been made to Section 5 of the bylaw to strengthen the wording for the pound keeper and how animals in their care shall be dealt with. Section 9 of the bylaw deals with dangerous dogs, and once again, the language has been updated to strengthen the bylaw in dealing with this issue. Section 13 deals with backyard hens and outlines the requirements to keep the hens on residential property and how they'll be housed. Section 14 is new and addresses the intentional feeding of deer within Colwood. This section will make it illegal to feed deer at feeding stations or on private property. We do get numerous complaints regarding people who have put out feed and are drawing deer into the neighborhood, so we figured that would be an issue that we should address and have a mechanism to deal with that. Schedule B of the bylaw shows all the approved short wording of the bylaw that will allow for ticketing, and the fine amounts are in keeping with other jurisdictions. Some of the fines have been added for a dog attack and dangerous dog have been added at the request of the CRD. Schedule C is the same map that was in the old bylaw. Schedule D of the West Shore Parks and Recreations. They've asked for help with dogs off leash on their grounds. West Shore Parks and Rec is now an on-leash area within our bylaw, so they will have some recourse to call CRD to make sure animals are on their leash rather than running on their fields, which has been an ongoing issue with them. Schedule E is a map of Colwood Creek Park. Council just recently requested staff to build a split rail fence around the park to be a definitive boundary to keep dogs out of the park. So this map has been included. It shows that area. So this area where the playground is a dog exclusion zone. All dogs have to be on a leash while in that area. So that clearly outlines that. Other items, The other item is the amended MTI bylaw and the proposed new fines. So this is another amendment to the MTI bylaw, which has to go hand in hand with the bylaw to allow us to do our ticketing authority. So the options really for committee are that committee support the report and the proposed bylaws 1531 and 1532 as presented, and forward the bylaws to council for enactment, or that committee support the report presented and propose changes to bylaw 1531 and 1532, then forward the bylaw with the proposed changes to council for enactment. The animal control bylaw has been vetted by city staff, manager of CRD Bylaw Control Services, and our solicitor. The report attached is available on the website as part of the June 11th, 2014 Protective Services meeting and agenda package. The public will be educated about the new sections in the bylaw through an education process that will last several months before moving forward with the issuing of tickets. There is no financial implication for this. The CRD, even though we're asking them to patrol more area with one to few parks and rec, there is no increase to the animal control budget. They don't see this as being an arduous thing to do, so there's no increase. And number 6 is a recommendation for council to consider. That committee support the recommendations in the Senior Bylaw Officer's May 07, 2014 report and the proposed bylaws 1531 and 1532 as presented, and forward the bylaws to council for enactment. So I can answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you. Committee. Dean.
Sorry, Kevin, down at the rec facility, will that be then your responsibility, or was CRD bylaw, once we change the bylaw, CRD will be able to patrol that?
CRD is our primary animal control contractor. If we happen to be there on site, so I'm just going to use the example of a dog bites somebody and we're right there, we will apprehend the dog, hold it on site, contact CRD, pass the file over to them, and it's their file.
Kevin, are dogs allowed down at West Shore Parks and Rec right now?
Our bylaw does not allows them to be there. West Shore Parks and Rec has a policy internally that they do not allow dogs off leash or on the property. They have no teeth within their bylaws. They have no way of enforcing that because of their way their structure is. So they had to come to us and ask us, being the overarching authority, to do the bylaw for our community and define that area as West Shore Parks and Rec. And the best I can do is put a dog on leash. They wanted to ban all dogs. That was a pretty big order. That would have increased CRD's work. The easiest solution was put a dog on a leash. At least then it's under control and it's not running on the fields, which is their biggest thing. They don't want the dogs running wild on the fields.
Yeah, which I understand. I only ask because a couple of months ago, one of the officers gave me the gears for having my dog on a leash down there, and if I didn't remove it, you know, there was a fine.
I'd bail you out.
You know, so I'm glad, and I agree with the part. No.
I have to say, I know of one resident, I know you say it has to be on leash, but they let their dog run around with the leash loose. So we do have irresponsible people that, I don't know if you need to.
That would be addressed under a dog at large. It's not under effective control, so there still would be a $100 ticket for that.
I was just going to. Yeah. And I agree, you know, we know how difficult it is at school grounds and soccer fields and those sorts of things to, you know, if you have responsible dog owners, it's not a problem, but it's not pretty if dog owners aren't responsible on those fields and that sort of thing, even if they are on leash. So, yeah, always carry an extra bag. I just wanted to say, with respect to the animal control fine schedule, I'm glad to see some of those fines a little bit stiffer. I'm not opposed to seeing them a little bit higher. It makes people a little bit more accountable and think twice about, you know, doing it again. Can I just ask why some of them are highlighted in yellow?
Those were the ones that were changed, that were not in the previous bylaw. Most of what is in here was already in our existing bylaw, so it was just updating the language. Significant changes I highlighted so this committee could identify them readily, and I didn't have to go, this one. So, through the chair, if there's any fines that this committee wishes to raise, if you can let me know that, then I can make those adjustments before this report goes forward to committee, and I'll take whatever your suggestions, and I will consult with the chief administrative officer. If the fine is too high, we'll pick somewhere in the middle, but we can make some adjustments if this committee would like that.
I don't think fines can ever be too high. You know, in Canada, we just don't take, I personally don't think we're aggressive enough. I know in Denmark I got a parking ticket and it was $150 for being 10 minutes past my time. Guess what? I'm not going to do it again. You know, you take notice, but I personally don't think we are where we need to be when it comes to fines. But that's enough.
Fled the country.
Yeah, I'm an honest citizen.
Any further comments? Seeing none, there is a recommendation to go to council.
I'll move the recommendation, and thanks, Kevin.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And last but not least, a report on the West Shore RCMP monthly report. Inspector.
This is just a quick snapshot report for in between the quarterly reports that we do. So there's 2 community events happened in the month of May. One was on May 10th, where we had our detachment open house. That was, although the weather was not all that cooperative, we still had over 600 people in attendance that day. We had a variety of specialized units. They're outlined on the second page of the report, including our TAC team, our emergency response team, EDU. We had the local fire departments from our communities were also in attendance, as well as the military police, and did tours of the detachment. Then also on the 25th of May, we had a Keep in Touch tea. And the Keep in Touch program is unique to our area. It's where we have volunteers come in, and daily they phone out to isolated seniors within our community who have no other contacts, and essentially touch base with them and check on them. So annually there's a tea that is held at the detachment. I believe it was 38 clients attended, and the volunteers catered that with myself and other members in Red Surge serving the tea and the treats to them that day. And for most of them, that's a high point of their year. And that was very successful. And operationally, a file of note was in the Colwood area, where we were assisting with Victoria Police Department, and in the residence itself found some explosives and a pipe bomb. We called in our explosives disposal unit after we evacuated, and that was just, disposed of, and that file remains under investigation. And that's it in a quick nutshell.
Committee. Seeing no comment, can I have a motion to receive the report? Moved by Dean. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, Chief, sorry. BYLAW.
Sorry, through the chair, I just wanted to update you. This past weekend, the BYLAW department did work some overtime and worked later into the evening. Thursday and Friday, worked from 6 p.m. till 9. We were able to extinguish a fire on the beach without having to call out our fire department. Thursday night was pretty much uneventful. Friday interrupted some people getting ready to start a fire down on the beach. There was a lot of kids out that weekend, that evening, and just having the visual presence down there, they were seeing the BYLAW vehicle and they were turning around and leaving the lagoon. On Saturday, BYLAW was able to assist the RCMP with a mischief file. Some kids were up on Dunsmuir School. The members were responding, but as the kids left the school, BYLAW was able to identify them and stop the kids and detain them until the RCMP were able to arrive on scene and deal with them more appropriately. As well, Saturday night was very busy. There was a large amount of activity. There were some noise files that the RCMP, that I assisted with the RCMP with. There was lots of activity on the beach. There were some alcohol pours, but once again, the BYLAW vehicle and myself making ourselves very visible, turning on the takedown lights at 11 o'clock at night, making sure that everybody can see us. It averted any problems. We had had a report that there was possibly going to be a large beach party that weekend. With the amount of kids that were down in there, something was brewing, but we were able to interrupt it. So nothing came of it. So it was an uneventful weekend for BYLAW and, more importantly, for the fire department.
Thank you. Sherry? Oh, Chief, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I haven't spoken yet. I would like to thank BYLAW. They did go out of their way to change their hours. When they did have a discussion with myself, I mentioned that really anything to do down at the beach with beach fires, 5 to 9 wasn't really doing anything for us. I know Kevin spent some time down there from 8 till midnight. He adjusted his own shift, and that I know for a fact averted the fire department having to attend the beach possibly more than once. So I would like to thank him for that. But something that also triggered me there, sorry, was did you get names of people that were on the roof on the weekend of Dunsmuir School?
Yes. Yes, I have those names, and the RCMP have the names as well.
Okay, I just need to follow up on that because we did have a large dumpster fire there Monday night. So I need to piece that together. Thank you.
Sherry?
Just to follow up on Kevin's report there, I just want to bring to the attention of the RCMP, there appears to be a lot of racing happening in the evenings down there, and it doesn't seem to matter what night it is, but you can see 2 cars dragging down the lagoon at very high speeds. I can hear it from my balcony, and so I don't know how you catch them because it's not happening all of the time, but I don't know what kind of patrols you guys do down there, but it seems to be in the evening just before sunset, that sort of thing, that those yahoos are down there. Not you, Dean.
All right. Well, thank you. The next meeting is scheduled for July the 9th. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Dean. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
July, are you doing a July meeting? Is it August we skip?
We generally skip August for sure, and depending on what's on the 9th. So there's a good chance that that'll be yeah. Or the call of the chair, yeah.